Going live. And you're live. Hello, folks. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Comic Shop Talk Live, brought to you by Black Cat Comics in Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. Shop online at black-cat-comics.com. We're keeping it connected to the comic book community. I'm Mark.
I'm Francie.
And welcome. This is an interactive program, so please feel free to throw your questions, comments, queries, concerns, and we will address all of those fun issues.
Yes.
Today we're going to talk this week's comics. We're going to talk DC Fandom Round 2, because that's probably what a lot of you folks are doing right now as we speak, and all the other fun stuff that goes on in the world of comics, and maybe a couple plans for the future. All kinds of fun stuff. So, usually we get started with comic shop news.
Comic shop
news. Not too much going on in comic shop news other than the new comics for the week. So maybe we'll get into new comics. What do you have for comic shop news?
I have some news.
Do you now?
So, Batman has COVID. So even Dark Knight is not immune to this hideous, insidious virus. I think because he wears the mask on the wrong side of his face. It's supposed to be. I mean, it needs to be down here. It needs to be over here.
Yeah.
Not up here. Down here. So yeah, week into shooting again, and Robert Pattinson apparently came down with COVID, though they had to shut down production again, and so we're gonna have to wait a little longer to see him in the cowl.
And that's so rough because like they released the trailer and the whole thing. There was like all the buzz about it, and it's like, oh nope, psych, we're putting it on hiatus.
Michael, that is quite an honor. You taking a break from the fandom to be with us.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Those fandom things are really exciting.
Love.
I'm hoping. I haven't seen anything from Fandom Round 2, but
I'm working all day.
Yeah. But I'm really hoping. I was excited. I love the first one, as you all know, because we talked all about it.
Yeah,
I'm very
fun.
Excited to see the next round of stuff.
Thank you, Farhan. That's
awesome. And I'm really, really hoping there's more comic news this time. I've seen a couple of things leak out about Doom Patrol and about different things. I'm anxious to see them make some more comic announcements this time around.
So those of you that have been watching it so far today, any news from comics? Any things coming up that are comic book specific that you want to share? Because we haven't been able to watch that just yet.
Haven't seen too much of that, but like I say, looking forward to it because the first one was
great.
Awesome.
No, they did a good job.
And
the future of conventions.
Yes, it is. While we're on the subject, I would say we recently delved into that Doom Patrol thing. I think it's really cool.
Oh, that was fun.
It is really cool.
Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
I love him. My new fave.
I said last time, because I was on my own, so I was just winging it about comics, and I didn't get too into the Batman thing or too into other things. But this time around, again, since Fandom's on, I mentioned real quick, I really dug the Doom Patrol thing.
Yeah.
I do wish that it was Beast Boy instead of Cyborg. I think I've said that before, which is a whole other.
The Cyborg thing's a little weird. He's a little weird.
Other than that, I think the show's awesome. We haven't gotten into season 2 yet. But season 1 was really, really cool.
Did we finish season 1?
I don't think so. Maybe that might have been the last one for season 1.
We got a little ways to go.
But certainly look forward to season 2, and then we might have to bite the bullet and get HBO so we can watch season 3.
Ugh. We have so many things. There's so many streaming services.
But yeah, like I say, I'm excited to see some comic news, because part of my thing to talk about today is all the things that are ending. We know that Bendis is leaving Superman. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The Green Lantern season 2 will be the end of the Grant Morrison, Liam Sharp team up on Green Lantern.
Ending Batman. Couple more issues to go. Joker War stuff.
Yep. So we know a lot of things are wrapping up. And we've heard a couple of the projects that are going to be rolling out with original Batman and the Generation thing and different stuff. But other than 2 Batman projects, we haven't really heard anything else about the future of the DCU. So I'm kind of anxious to see some of that rolling out.
Yeah, hopefully they'll mention that this weekend.
Like I say, we hoped and thought that Fandom 2 might be more comic centric. So I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else out there in the world of comics?
Since we mentioned it last week or 2 weeks ago, we should mention it now. So happy to report that Flying Colors in Concord is back open.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know the status of their COVID situation, but obviously it's better because they're able to open up their doors again. So that's good news.
Yep. That
From
means,
one retailer to another. Good job.
Yes. Best of luck to you, Joe. Glad to see you back on your feet and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Flying Colors is a great shop. Is one of the pillars of the comic community,
100%.
and has been for decades.
Yep.
So very happy that all's well that ends well, as they say.
Yeah, I don't know that they're out of the woods yet, but I mean, if they're able to open, that's at least a very good sign.
Yep, that's a huge plus.
Yeah.
So good times.
Good times.
Yeah, I think that about covers it from the
News.
global world of comics.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just get right into new books. Do you want to
New
start?
stuff.
Do you want to do what I want to start? Do you want me?
I can start. Sure.
There you go.
So I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't read this yet, but I'm super excited to read it. So again, I don't need to sell this. This sells on its own. But Joker Harley, Criminal Sanity, so well done. Cami Garcia, Miko Suayan. Sorry, can't pronounce that correctly. It's just such a great new take on the Joker and Harley relationship, where she's a FBI kind of profiler that is following the serial killer, which happens to be, spoiler, the Joker, and kind of finding out more about him through the victims that he leaves behind and how he stages them. And it's a fascinating thriller. And if you like FBI profiling type stuff, pick this guy up because it's a great book. And the art's amazing. I love the large format.
Mm-hmm.
You know, love. It's just
the art is amazing.
It's deep. It's. I mean, there's not a lot of color. There's it's mostly shadow work with hints and pops of color. And it's really well done. So, I can't wait to read this one. So that's top of my list this week.
One thing I really love about that is I feel like Harley Quinn has so much unexplored aspect to her character. And I love that this gets into her criminal psychology, her profession, all these things.
Yes.
All we've seen, and I get that the purpose of the book. I totally get that it's a humor book. She's not meant to be taken seriously. The book is not meant to be taken seriously. She's kind of the Deadpool of the DCU, and I totally get that. That being said,
I never thought of her that way. The Deadpool of the DCU. That just sunk in. That's hysterical.
I don't think that's mine.
It's true.
and so I get that she's supposed to be light, supposed to be funny, it's supposed to be all of those things, comic relief, all those things. I totally get all that. That being said, this book sort of flips that, and I think in a core Batman title, as now that we have Punchline and other things, I'd like somebody to tackle the idea that they've hinted at many, many times, that it's all an image, that it's an act, that that's her psychosis, and that's not the real her. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to see, as they evolve her more into the hero side, mm-hmm. I'd like to see more of this kind of Harley Quinn in the comics.
Well, Curse of the White Knight, that went into that quite a bit. It showed a different side of Harley, and it showed more of her sane side than her insane side, and how she worked with Batman towards the end, spoiler, to figure out who Azrael was and how to stop him, and how to stop Jack Napier, which AKA is the Joker.
The Joker.
So yeah, there's, I think, a lot of different writers have touched on it, but not in main continuity. I think they do it in these kind of Elseworld kind of settings, like
right.
The other, Batman Curse of the White Knight. That's kind of an Elseworld, another Black Label book that's not part of the main series. So, but I agree, she's a lot more interesting when you remember all the layers, her background before she went nutso. That's why I love Harleen. Sorry to interrupt. Harleen was just like, oh my God, that was the book about Harley. I mean, come on.
That was another book with great art.
So good.
I like that. It's interesting. I shouldn't say I like. It's interesting to me that she starts as a Joker victim. Like I say, she has this persona, and she has all that she does and all that she is. And that whole thing is taken on its own life. But like I say, it starts that he wrecked her mind, and how she has overcome that to be the character that she is now, I think is really interesting.
Did he wreck her mind, or did she allow herself to be free and insane in his presence?
All things that I would like to see delve. And again, different books have gone into this in different ways.
Harleen.
But like I say, as part of the core Batman mythos, I'd like to see a little more of that fleshed out. I'd like to see the character, with a serious book that's in continuity.
Yeah.
And again, if nothing else, the art is so great in that book. It's unbelievable. I would go, but I want you to talk about that one.
Oh, Ice Cream Man. So quarantine comic special. So Ice Cream Man is this amazing horror anthology book that's been out for, I think they're on issue like 21 or something like that. So they've been going on for, a good clip now. And think of the Ice Cream Man as the Crypt Keeper. So he's kind of your host that walks you through different types of horror stories. And I am not completely caught up, but the issues I've read, they're all kind of standalone issues. So it's like its own, horror story wrapped up into 22 pages. So this one is actually a quarantine special with you see him with his mask on, staying safe from COVID. And this is a combination of different, this one is the anthology where it's got a lot of different artists and different writers kind of doing their own take on the horror genre. So it's got special guests, Declan Shavley, Al Ewing, PJ Holden, all kinds of folks. So it's a nice, hefty, good read. And while you're in quarantine, why not add more horror to your life? Because the world isn't scary enough.
It might have gone on to a lot of people's radar at number 20 for whatever reason. Something happened at number 20 and sold out, went to reprint, all this kind of stuff. But it's had a lot of buzz behind it from the beginning. So I would really encourage people, as I say all the time about specials and different things, the quarantine special gives you an opportunity to check out the book. And if you like the special, you like the series, you can jump in at the latest issue. So pick up the special or pick up that first trade paperback.
That's good.
It will definitely suck you in.
If you like the horror, it's a good book.
It's a really unique kind of take, and I like. I mean, it is and it isn't. They take the classic things of horror, like you say. You have a crypt keeper, and they tell stories, and there's different stories. But the idea that the crypt keeper is an ice cream man is kind of
that's creepy.
It's a twist.
It's creepy.
So yeah, it's a cool book, and like I say, kind of different from whatever else is out there.
I have, before you get into your thing, I have a little bit of comic shop news we forgot to share, but I don't remember the details, so it's going to be really terrible news. So our friend Mike Martz at Aftershock sent us a note saying that they just released and announced that one of their books that I don't even think is out yet got signed to either a movie or Netflix. So something coming out with Aftershock soon will be translated into a live action something or other. So terrible news. See, I told you it was going to be bad. So congrats to Aftershock, because that's huge, especially for a publisher that hasn't been around for that long.
And a book that's not even out yet.
So yeah, that's huge. And I will share the information that he shared with us so that you guys can read about it as well. And
be on the lookout for that first issue of soon to be streaming.
I want to say it's coming out either this month or next month.
It's got to be right around the corner.
Yeah, the issue, the comic.
Good stuff.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I almost don't know where to start because I have so much that I want to talk about.
Oh, here we go.
I'll start with this guy.
Love that.
For a number of reasons. One, do you really need any? Do you even need to know what this book is?
No.
No, you don't. Why? Because it's got an Alex Ross Submariner cover. I love any Alex Ross cover. I love anything with the Submariner, the Avenging Prince. Love me some Namor. Can't wait till he joins the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So before I even get into talking about the book, I'm just going to hold this cover for a while. And I'm going to tell you that over the next few weeks, there's going to be all kinds of Alex Ross covers coming out like this.
Yeah.
Next week's issue of Captain...
Timeless variant?
Yeah.
Timeless, yeah.
Next week's issue of Captain America will have one. All kinds of issues are going to have them. So if you're an Alex Ross fan, like everybody is, you're going to want to get these on your sub list. You're going to want to be on the lookout for these. You're going to want to find them on the site each week as they roll out.
So good.
I've seen a lot of them. You've probably seen a lot of them online already too. And then, like I say, it doesn't really matter what the book is. It doesn't really matter whether you're going to read it or not. And I really don't ever say that. But with Alex Ross Virgin covers, yes, come on.
Well, and like I said before, about a month ago, why do they make other covers when they've got Alex Ross? Why is
that's a great question. I'd have logo and logoless, and that would be that.
And then Alex Ross.
So that's my first little bit, is that Alex Ross is doing covers over at Marvel, and there's going to be a whole mess of them rolling out. Again, you're probably already following him on social media, so you probably know a lot about this. If you don't, you should. If you aren't, you should. And anyway, be on the lookout for these. So then, what is this book? This is Empire Fallout Fantastic Four. There was Empire Avengers. So the main Fantastic Four book was tying into Empire. Empire 6 was the end of the main book. Then there's this guy. Avengers Aftermath is also the Empire book. It's back here somewhere. But I wanted to talk about this one particularly for a number of reasons. Sure, since you have it, we can throw that in there too. I've been talking up Empire. I thought it was really good. It had a great wrap up. It had a great ending, which frankly event books don't always do. It had, without spoiling anything, it had a really cool, the story wraps up, but it also feeds into more stories and teases the next things that are going to be happening, which is really cool. And particularly, that's what this one is all about. I don't even want to hint at what goes on in the last page of this book, because I was just so excited and so super stoked at what happened on the last page of this book. Again, Empire wraps up and is very cool and satisfying and awesome. But then at the end of this one, at the end of Empire Aftermath Avengers, they show you a little bit of what the future looks like. And as is always the case in comics, the future is grim. That's why we need superheroes. So anyway, Empire was awesome. The wrap-ups are awesome. I know people, for some reason, a lot of you guys don't read the last issue. In my 18 years as a comic retailer, I've seen this as a consistent trend.
So
I have never understood it. You guys buy Empire 1 through 5, and then 6 comes out, and you look at the last page, and you go, okay. And I don't get that, but so I'm encouraging those of you who do that, buy Empire 6, read Empire 6, buy the Aftermath and the Fallout issues. Like I say, the last page of Fantastic Four Fallout is something I've been waiting for a long time, and I got it, and it's awesome. So
is this the last week of Empire?
I believe so, yes.
It's all over now.
Yes, this one and the Avengers one, the Captain Marvel issue 21, I believe wraps up all the Empire stuff, and now we'll be moving on to the next big thing. So to summarize, Alex Ross covers are awesome. Anything with the Submariner is awesome. It begs for an Aquaman joke, but I don't do that because I like Aquaman. And the Fantastic Four Fallout issue was great. All this Empire stuff has been a lot of fun. Soon everyone will know what I'm talking about. And and I hope you're all as excited as I am.
Good times.
What can I say as a teaser? What can
Ooh.
let's just say, how about if I said Nick Fury's not the only guy in the universe with one eye? Ooh. All right, I'll just leave it at that. Your
Odin?
turn.
Odin has one eye.
Okay, you're right, but it's not Odin.
So another big book that came out this week, Trinity Crisis from Dark Knight Death Metal. So lots going on. Tons going on. Wonderful art. Love the art. Francis Manipul. Great stuff.
I love that first page. That's very Crisis-esque.
Yeah, very much so. Good stuff. I haven't read it yet. I haven't read my books this week yet because I've been really busy. But here's, love me some Scott Snyder, love me some death metal. I'm confused. Like I'll be honest with you, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I need to start from the beginning and read everything again, like close together. Because I'm like, now we've got 3 multiverses and we're all coming together to fight them together. And is it really the Wonder Woman that we think it is, or is it a different? Like, I'm lost. I'm a little lost. So, are you guys lost too, or is it just me? Do I need to go back to school and?
Sometimes in the events they do lose you on purpose. Sometimes they do take it too far out, so you're kind of like, where is this going? And that's fine as long as they can rein it all back in and pull it all together.
What was the last one? So I'm confused also with the one shots. So like the Legends had all these stories about the Robin King and like offshoot stories. So it felt like another, just like what's happening behind the scenes. So I thought all of them were going to be like that, but this one's like critical. Like you have to read this in order to understand the rest of the main storyline.
Yes.
And so that was in and of itself is confusing. So if you want to keep abreast of the main story, you need this one too. But not necessarily the Legends one and not the other one from last week or the week before.
But you will need to read that one before the next issue of Death Metal.
I'm so confused.
It was a little confused. There's a lot going on in that book.
But it's fun. It's a ton of fun. All these great characters that you know and love in different ways, different. I was gonna say uniforms. That's not right.
Universes?
No, I mean literally like different suits.
Yeah, they're uniforms.
Costumes.
I don't like calling them costumes.
I don't know what they are. But anyway, it's neat to see them with this heavy metal lens. I love it. Lobo fits right in. Like it's all good. It's
Lobo
all great.
always fits right.
It's all great. Just a little lost. That's all. I'll come around. I'll figure it out.
Well, I don't want to say, but yes. And like I say, sometimes you just got to go along for the ride.
Oh yeah.
Earth X. I remember years ago, Earth X was a little like that. You got halfway through Earth X, and it started out as a Captain America story. And like 4 issues in, it had just gone across every corner of the Marvel universe, and you're like, where's Captain America? But like I say, then it all kind of then gravitates back toward the middle, and Snyder's great. He'll pull it off.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt. I'm just wondering if I'm the only one or if you guys are lost too.
Well, I mean, the original Crisis was like that too. Even all these years later, when you try and read Crisis on Infinite Earths, what's ironic is at the time I read it and I didn't know a lot of the characters because there's Earth 1 and Earth 2 and all this kind of stuff, right? And so you didn't recognize some of the characters. Now, after all these years, they've changed those characters so many times that even though that is the core character, you might not recognize them. There's always a lot going on in the crises, but like I say, they always manage to kind of pull it together.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff. Speaking of pulling it together, this guy. Wow. I had so much fun reading this book. I've had so much fun reading the Bendis Superman stuff. I hope you're all reading Bendis Superman stuff. Again, I've been a fan forever, but just in my time in retailing, there's this anti-Superman bias that I've had to deal with forever. And people always tell me, whenever I would mention Superman, whenever I bring up Superman, people's immediate response is to tell me something about Batman.
Guilty.
And I wasn't talking about Batman. I'm talking about Superman.
But all roads lead back to the Bat.
But it's just, you know, and anytime you say anything about Superman, somebody tells you about Batman. Or the next thing they do without talking about Superman, when people talk about Superman, they tell you why they don't read Superman. I don't read Superman because he's too powerful. I don't read Superman because the villains aren't interesting. I don't read Superman because whatever it is that they have to say for why they don't read Superman. And sometimes when I would feel snarky, I would ask them, have you ever read Superman? And their response is no, that they've never read Superman, but and the reason they've never read Superman goes back to the things that they said, because he's too powerful and he's this and it's that and blah, blah, blah. Well, how do you know if you've never read the book? So along comes Brian Michael Bendis after all these years. And here's my opportunity to get all of those people to check out an issue of Superman. And those that have, you know, I'm selling Action and Superman more than maybe we ever have. And so people have gotten on board. People know what I'm talking about. And this issue, 25, big anniversary, double-sized issue, is exactly what I'm talking about. He doesn't reinvent everything. He doesn't blow anything up. He doesn't change everything you ever knew about Superman. It's just, you know, Superman being Superman, and it's a sci-fi book. This one introduces a new alien race that you know, he shows you the history and brings you to the present. And like I say, it's just everything that Superman comics should be. Superman's the good guy. He fights bad guys. There's bad guys out there trying to take out Superman. And then in between the big sci-fi adventure, you get personal stories. You get personal stories about people who live in Metropolis. You get personal stories about people who know Clark Kent. And so, you know, I find myself, Bendis knows all the things that I would tell all those anti-Superman people. No, it's not about him being too powerful. One thing I've always said, Superman is actually the most vulnerable hero there is. All you have to do is point the weapon anywhere except him. And suddenly he's incredibly vulnerable. And so anyway, much like about Ice Cream Man, I like to say about a lot of things, if you're one of those Superman naysayers, pick up number 25. If you don't like this book, then I can't change your mind. But chances are you'll read this book. Great stories, great art. Ivan Rice, Ivan Reis, however it is you want to say it. He has joked that he doesn't know how to say his name anymore.
Nice.
If you read this book, you'll understand why I like Superman and why I've been enjoying the Bendis run and all that kind of thing. Is
it a one shot or things leading up to this point?
No, you don't have to read any of it. This is again sort of 25. What an anniversary issue should be. It's a fresh start. And again, he doesn't, you know, blow up everything you ever knew about Superman. You see Lana Lang. It's a great Lana Lang story. And it's a great Clark Kent story. It's a great Superman story.
Awesome.
Like I say, it's a little bit science fiction. It's a little bit high school WB romance. And I don't know, it's everything that makes Superman fun. Bendis gets it. And so Superman fans like me are really happy. And if you're not a Superman fan, you should pick up number 25, and it just might change your mind. Let me see. Can't show you that one. Oh, maybe I can. Here's the aforementioned new villain fighting a bunch of Thanagarians. That's awesome.
Spoiler.
Kind of.
Michael's got your back. He's like, yeah, I read Superman. Always have, always will.
There you go. He knows what I'm talking about. And like I say, I like a lot of old schoolers like me and Michael, we come from an era where, I was just talking about this with somebody the other day, you read the book anyway. And our creative teams come and go, and sometimes you like the book more than others. But if you weren't liking the book, you didn't drop it. You just kept reading it until that creative team left and a new creative team took over. And that's how. So, like I say, I've always read Superman, always will. But if you're not like that, then again, you should jump in on the Bendis stuff. Pick up Action 1000 like everybody did, or like I say, just grab the recent number 25 and enjoy some cool sci-fi superhero action.
Thank you for saying that, Arnell.
A lot of fun.
Arnell, I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's kind of lost you. So thank you.
Well, like I say, sometimes the writer likes to lose you. Peter David likes to lose you. Peter David often says that the reader should get it just before you give it to him. And that's really true. While she's handling the business end of things, I'll jump ahead in line and talk about another one of my favorite sci-fi books, another one of my favorite DC titles, another book that I always read. And again, like Superman, this creative team, Grant Morrison and Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp, are delivering Green Lantern as good as it's ever been. A little like Superman, is not reinventing anything. It's just Space Cop Hal Jordan having Space Cop adventures, great stories, great art. Bendis is going to be leaving Superman really soon, and that makes me sad. Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp are going to be wrapping up this Green Lantern bit, which makes me really sad. So now's your opportunity before they're gone to get in on this. Green Lantern, the season 1 was just called Green Lantern. Now this is Green Lantern season 2. And it's just been excellent. Grant Morrison kind of goes without saying, right? Everybody knows Grant Morrison. And Liam Sharp is just absolutely stellar. If you don't know much about Liam Sharp's work, again, pick up the latest issue of Green Lantern and see if there's a non-spoiler page I can show you. I'll just show you the first page. Detail and style and just everything you want in comic art, everything you want in sci-fi superhero books. Like I say, it's a bit of my theme this week because Superman is super classic, but as good as it's ever been. Green Lantern is super classic and as good as it's ever been. Pick up the first issue of this, or like I always say, just grab the latest issue and dive in, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Like I say, it does, both of these books, I guess, require a little bit that you like science fiction. Another thing I've always said, the key thing between Superman and Batman is that they're totally different genres that happen to exist in the same universe. And so people like crime fiction, and so they read Batman. People like me like science fiction, and so we read Superman. If you like sci-fi, like I say, Green Lantern is as good as it gets right now. It looks like the Spectre. Is that on purpose? It is on purpose because a lot of people don't know or don't remember that Hal was the Spectre. And this revisits a bit of that moment in time.
Love the Spectre.
I do.
He doesn't get enough playtime.
That's 200% true. The Spectre definitely deserves, and Phantom Stranger too.
Yes.
Both Stranger. Of those guys need a serious return to DC Comics.
Yes.
One thing, since we mentioned it, I'll tangent for just a second.
You tangent?
The Spectre is the left hand of God. And one reason I think they've sort of phased the Spectre out to some extent, though you do see him in that Crisis book, is because the DC universe is very religious. The DC universe is very based on, there's that image of creationism. And there's the image that you've seen many times of a hand creating the universe. And the Spectre used to often refer to himself as the hand of God and the vengeance of the Lord and all this stuff. And in modern times it's not I don't know what the thing is, but they've toned that very much down. In fact, to finish this tangent, I really hoped that Doomsday Clock was going to say that that's Dr. Manhattan's hand. I really thought that they were going to finally assign a hand to that, so to explain, no, that's not God, that's actually Dr. Manhattan, but that's not what happened. Yes, we do need more Phantom. I love Phantom Stranger. I love Phantom Stranger. We've never seen enough of him in comics.
Agreed.
Okay, that's the end of that, of my sci-fi DC tangent.
Well, then let's bring it over to comedy. Bill and Ted are doomed. So, have you guys checked out the new movie yet? I'm dying to check it out.
I am dying to check it out.
Part of our growing up, part of our culture. So, haven't read it, but just the idea of Bill and Ted coming back, and that whole, the 90s and all that fun dude stuff. Like, I'm tickled pink. That's Wayne's World.
They do it too.
They do it too. Who didn't in the 90s? We all did it. So pick up the comic. I believe it's a one shot, right?
I think so.
I don't think they're doing more than this one.
One thing I really love.
It's by Evan Dorkin. So I mean, come on, Evan Dorkin.
Indie comic superstar Evan Dorkin. Speaking of Phantom Stranger, I haven't seen enough Evan Dorkin lately. One thing I really loved about this, aside from all the obvious, it's really done in a classic, funny comic style. From the art style to the panel layout, it's really done like kids comics, like humor comics have always been. And I really got a kick out of that. It kind of gave me a bit of a flashback to old like Looney Tunes cartoon or Looney Tunes comics and different things. Like I say, kind of basic art, basic panel format, but see, there they are doing it.
So yeah, Arnell, thank you. He thinks it's 4 issues, 1 through 4 for Bill and Ted. And that, speaking of different genres within the same universe, have you watched Swamp Thing? We saw like the first 2, right?
Yeah, we saw the what do they call it? Not trailer, pilot. We saw the pilot in the first episode.
Yeah, but we never went back to it, huh?
Nope, because there's just too much going on.
There's too many things.
It occurred to me the other day we never finished. What's the X-Men one? The son of Xavier, that was so cool.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Oh.
See, neither one of us
Old
know.
People brains. Old people brains.
But anyway, there's too much content out there. Legion, thank you. We never finished Legion, and I loved
really
that.
good.
I loved it, and it totally got away from me. I haven't finished Watchmen. There's just too much going. And now I'm into Doom Patrol. So
3 times, nice.
Thank
you.
I'm into Legion. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Arnell.
I'm into Doom Patrol now. But yes, I will get back to Swamp Thing at some point. He's one of the most interesting characters in comics.
Constantine.
Well, I mean, there's lots of interesting characters, but Swamp Thing is
the 2 of them together
is
magic.
Yeah, pun intended.
Yes.
And he's one of those guys that the book is always good and never catches on. I'm always disappointed that Swamp Thing books don't sell better, especially the new 52 one. I know you like that one. That one, Animal Man. Great stories, great art.
So good.
And I'm, like I say, sometimes disappointed when the fan base doesn't latch on to something.
Yeah, no, too many good ones. There's just, only so many hours in the day. And then, you got to read your comics too.
You got to read your comics. I've got to rewatch all my Disney Plus favorites. It's there's. I mean, couldn't we all? And yes, that is a nice problem to have. Since you mentioned it, I'll remind everyone. If you're 100 years old like me, and we struggled and we begged the entertainment world to give us something half decent. I remember when the Spawn movie came out. The Spawn movie was the greatest superhero thing that had ever been made. We all knew at the time it was not a good movie, but we also understood that it was the best. It was a decent movie, and that's what made it the best comic book thing that had ever been made.
His cake was awesome.
Because everything made before that was unwatchable.
Right.
And now in recent years we get great movies. We have unending TV shows and more on the way. So there is too much to watch, and it's a great problem to have. I look forward to starting new things. I've been wanting to see the New Mutants movie. All the stuff. It's just a great time for all that.
Yes, Arnell, wishing that DC would compile, is it Sully's run on Swamp Thing?
Charles Soule.
Yeah, Charles Soule. How do you pronounce a lot of these names? How do you even know?
You don't. That's the beauty of all things comics. Going back to the Submariner. People say Submariner.
Nice.
People say Magneto. People say Galacticus. People say, but like I say, my personal favorite has always been Submariner. And
God.
Frankly,
that's hysterical.
It's not wrong. It's Submariner because he's a mariner who's underwater, so he's a submariner. But submarine is a word, and he's a guy that's underwater just like a submarine, so submariner. Who am I to say? And Bill Sienkiewicz, it's Sienkiewicz.
We're expanding minds here at Black Cat Comics.
So, well, like I say, it's just how comics has always been.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the 90s when Wizard Magazine came out phonetically spelled,
nice.
They would tell you, we saw pictures of artists,
nice.
and you were like, oh, that's what that guy looks like. You had never seen, you'd been reading his, I read Jim Aparo my whole life and had no idea what that guy looked like. There is one picture of Alan Moore. The picture of Alan Moore on the back of the Watchmen trade was the only picture anyone had ever seen of Alan Moore. And Wizard Magazine made a big deal about them getting a picture of Alan Moore. So, like I say, it's perfectly acceptable to not know how to say names. And that's why I mentioned earlier, Ivan Rice makes jokes about it at Comic-Con that everybody says his name different, and so he calls his mom and asks his mom
how did you know
how to say his name.
I think you need to talk about that big guy.
All right, yes, I guess we are I tangent a lot, so I burn up all my time. Okay, Rise of Ultraman. Did I mention Alex Ross? Did I mention that you don't need to care about the character, you don't need to care about the book, you just want to drop your $4, or this is kind of bonus sized, it's probably $5.99. Drop your $6 and just sit and stare at the awesomeness that is Ultraman. If you read my review in the newsletter this week, it's 200% awesome. I hadn't thought about Ultraman in the longest time.
What's up, Daniel?
When they solicited the book, I was like, oh my God, I remember Ultraman. I loved Ultraman. When I was a little kid, I loved watching Ultraman. And yes, the show was stupid. And you can see the zipper on the back of the suit, and the city is obviously like made of cardboard, and on I could go. It was the same episode over and over again. The same story in every episode, on and on. But it was a ton of fun to watch. Because who doesn't love watching robot men fight giant lizard guys? It was Godzilla on TV, and I just loved it. And you really haven't seen Ultraman anything. And so Marvel got the license, and now here we are with the return of Ultraman, and it's just as much fun as I remembered. If you loved Ultraman when you were a kid, pick this up. If you just love anime kind of things, you want to pick this up. It's starts all over again. It's new, a retelling, but new. The kid is new,
and the art. That's good art.
It is good art. Let me find cool explosion pages. Are always fun. Explosions are always awesome.
No, Carlo, we have not seen the new Ultraman show on Netflix, but we will add that to our growing list. But
I will now. I didn't even know there was one. Maybe I guess that's why there's a comic now. But like I say, Ultraman was just tons of fun. It's just a classic, what makes Japanese sci-fi great. It's just giant creatures fighting each other, and your city gets crushed in the ensuing melee. But like I say, it was fun. It was fun to get an origin story. The whole thing kind of starts over. You don't have to know anything about what goes on. But it was just a ton of fun. Very classic kind of Ultraman. There's 2 or 3 stories in this one. There's some of the art from the next story, sort of Darwin Cook-esque.
Have you watched it, Carlo? If so, what are your thoughts? Do you like it? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I say, just really stoked to see. If you're looking for something new, something a little different, yet something super classic, Rise of Ultraman. There's a whole bunch of covers. I guess I should have shown the photo cover too, because that would have taken you back to being 5 years old like it did me. Let's say, just love some Ultraman. Great to see it coming back in comics.
Good.
Pick up Ultraman #1.
Carlos saying it's pretty good, new concept that doesn't mess up the canon story. That's important.
That is important.
Yeah.
I like when comics about Superman, you don't need to blow up everything and reboot. You just need to kind of start a new generation.
Yep. I think we should talk about, if we're done with new this week.
I'm never done with new this week, but we can move on.
We've got other things. We should talk about the big book coming next week. Get that on people's radar.
Captain America?
Detective.
Yes.
Issue 1027. Mr. Causey, why is that significant or important?
You're really motivating me to tangent again. We only have 15 minutes left. Okay, so Batman first appears in Detective Comics #27. Thus, obviously, 1027 is the 1000th appearance of Batman in Detective Comics. Hark. And of course, that's a lot of fun. Detective Comics 1000 was a big deal, and then I love the anniversary issues. I got nothing against them doing yet another big old triple-sized $10 book next week for 1027. Issue 1000 is a big deal any way you look at it. Detective Comics is the book that started the company. It was, of course, a crime fiction book for the first, probably for 1027 issues, right? But for the first 26 issues, it was detective stuff. And then Batman is introduced in response to the popularity of Superman. And it's been Batman's core title ever since. And so you're going to want to be on the lookout for it. Like I've said many times in this episode, if for some reason you're not reading Detective, you want to pick up the anniversary issue, and that will make you pick up 1028, 1029. Of course, if you're a Batman fan, of course you're going to want 1027. And the 19th reason to buy the book is all the different covers. There's an Art Germ cover. There's a Jim Lee cover. There's all kinds of different covers. So you're going to want to be online Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. when we go live to pick up the covers that you want, because they're going to go fast. And yeah, it's definitely book of the week. And those anniversary issues are always a big deal. Anthology, there will be all kinds of different stories, different writers, different artists. Dun, 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 dun. No, I've not heard about any casting for Black Panther. Carlo, I don't know too much about it. Who would I cast as? Boy, I'm not really a good person to ask about casting because I never remember anybody's names. Carlo's asking about, it says Beyonce is being talked about cast as Storm for Black Panther. Who would I cast? Like I say, I don't really know because I don't know the names of famous people. I don't know celebrities. I don't really know movie or TV stuff. I watch what I watch. I like what I like, but mostly I'm a comic book guy. I think Halle Berry was well cast in but the role didn't match the character. I feel Storm was one of the neglected characters of the X-Men movie franchise. And I feel she was kind of wasted in that role. And maybe you might argue she's, aged out for the next wave of X-Men movies. So I don't really know. I'll leave that to the fan base. I will say, since you mention it, I think Storm is one of the very best characters in all of comics. And I think she deserves, as I say, I think she's really neglected in the other movies and deserves a more central role in the next round of X-Men films. I think she should be a central character. If you go back to, and of course, you could pick 1,000 issues. But X-Men 201 is known as being the first appearance of Baby Cable. But what it really is the passing of the mantle from Cyclops to Storm. What it really is Storm taking charge of the X-Men. And in my opinion, she's kind of been in charge of the X-Men ever since. So whoever they cast, they need to do it very well. But back to Detective 1027. It's a nice coincidence that Detective 27 Just finished reading Long Halloween. There you go, Daniel. Long Halloween, for those who don't know, since Daniel mentioned it, is one of the very best Batman stories ever written. So pick up Long Halloween. Yes, I'm looking forward to Detective 1027. As I say all the time, I love the anniversary issues. I love anthologies. It also gives me an opportunity to mention, as I've been saying in recent weeks, that legacy numbers matter. The constant reboot, the constant renumbering works against comics, works against the industry. I know that people buy number one. I get that. But that doesn't necessarily make them buy number two, number three, number four. First issues, they always say, you know, bring in new readers, bring in new readers. But they also kick out all the old readers. Secondly, the big numbers, like I would say all the time, the big numbers don't really matter. It doesn't matter that this is Nightwing number 74. It just matters that it says Joker War on it. People reading Joker War, people following Batman books will pick it up because they know where it is. But if you read the book and you like the book, then it makes you go, oh, 74. Wonder what the other 73 were like. When you pick up Detective 1027, you know that the book has been around for a long, long time. And a book is around a long time because people love it, because generations of people love it. When I bought Avengers 217, it didn't make me think that I had to have read 216 issues to get the one in my hand. It just told me that this book had been around a long time. And there's a reason the book is around a long time. There's a reason, you know, Pepsi. You buy Pepsi because it's been around for 100 years and you know what you're getting. You know what it is. You know that people before you have drank Pepsi, and so it's okay for you to drink Pepsi. And like I say, the legacy number works that way. You see number 1027, it tells you that lots of people before you have been reading this book, and if you jump in now, you can be around for the next 1027. It shows you in one number the history, the decades of greatness. It explains why Batman is Batman, because he's been around for 80 years and people have been loving him for 80 years, and that's how you get to issue 1000. So like I say, those legacy numbers are important for your core titles. They should have the legacy numbers on them, like they put on Flash, like they put back on Wonder Woman. Show that history, show the years that people have been reading and loving these books.
Did you talk about the covers, all the different covers for next week?
Briefly.
Yeah, so if you're a subscriber and you have it on your list, I emailed you and asked which cover you'd prefer. So if you could get back to us, that would be amazing and helpful. And then, yeah, we've got a couple comments here. But I don't know what you're talking about, so you're going to have to answer them.
Well, that's a little of what I'm talking about, Daniel. Like the next issue of Amazing is 850. But the one before it is 49. So if you're somewhat new to comics, or if you know you came in at whatever point you're reading 27, 28, 29, and now all of a sudden here's 850. But what's worse, and they did this with Avengers not too long ago, is that then they put it back. So I'm reading number 647, number 648, and then I'm reading number 26. I'm like, wait, what?
That does not compute.
Whereas, like I say,
it's going to break my brain.
You know, Amazing Spider-Man, like the Pepsi reference. People know the title. You associate the word amazing with Spider-Man, and so new readers can come in and they know that that's the book their dad read, that their grandfather read, and that they can read it, and that history will continue. But when you see number 3 all the time, there's no why should I read number 4? Who's Spider-Man? And like I say, those legacy numbers matter, and keeping them matters. And you can launch those mini series, and you can launch the other books. You know, you can do Web of Spider-Man number 1 over and over again, and that's fine because that's not the core title. But core titles like Detective Comics, like Batman, like Wonder Woman, like Action Comics, like Amazing Spider-Man, like Fantastic Four, Wolverine, like X-Men. I get what they're doing with X-Men right now, but it should still be Uncanny X-Men number 740.
It hasn't been like uncanny in forever.
In ages.
Yeah.
And like I say, it shows the new people that this stuff's been here for a while, and that they can get into it with the security that it's going to stay for a while.
Yeah, speaking of which, you know what else is coming out next week? Iron Man #1.
Sort of, yeah, kind of the opposite
Not
of
Invincible,
what
Iron
I'm
Man,
talking
just
about.
Iron Man 1.
And it's fine. Like I say, new readers jump in on #1. People buy #1s, but a brand new reader doesn't feel the history, the legacy of all these years of Iron Man. They're just like, oh, an Iron Man comic, okay. But if it said Invincible Iron Man #900, then you'd be like, wow, this guy Iron Man, he's got some staying power. Just thoughts from this comic book guy. I know the industry goes back and forth, and I know there's good arguments for both sides. But when we were talking to Jim Zub, he mentioned it without any impetus from me. And what he said was my experience and so many people's experience that, well, when I picked up my first issue of Spider-Man, I saw that big number and I wanted all those other issues.
Right.
And that's how it always was. And like I say, in recent years, they've gotten away from that. And I think that hurts long-term readership.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, enough about that. But Detective 1027, chunky legacy number, chunky anniversary issue.
You get a copy.
Recycle your cans. It's like $10.
$9.99.
So it's going to be expensive, and you're going to want more than one because you're going to want the Jim Lee one until you see that Art Germ cover. And so yeah, that's a big deal, and it deserves to be a big deal. Yes, I'm a Superman fan, but obviously. We wouldn't be here without the popularity and success of Batman. Batman has always paid everybody's bills. And that's just how that goes. So I'm excited about that. Should be a really, really good week next week.
And Michael gave up on the whole Valiant universe because of the constant renumbering. Yeah.
Sad but true. And a good example of that, Michael, and a great example of what I'm talking about is Rye. Rye is an excellent book. It's an excellent title. And you're reading along, and then when you get to number 12 is the end. And so that's the end. And so it doesn't occur to you to then wait for Rye #1. The book's over. So you're done with it.
I think Dark Horse has cracked the code. If you look at Hellboy, mm-hmm. they're all like 1 or 2, 4, and 6 shot stories. It's like 1 of 4, 2 of 4, but on the inside, you've got the continuity number. On the mm-hmm. inside, it's actually number 27 or 37 or whatever in the series. And so they do the best of both worlds.
Yep.
They cater to those of us that want continuity and making sure we don't miss an issue, but also the new person that just wants to pick up a random, story and knows that it's only going to be 4 issues or 6 issues, so it's not a big commitment. So they get it. I think Dark Horse is the best of both worlds on that.
Yeah, Mignola totally gets it with that. And I'll add on to that. The other layer of genius is that it is exactly that. If you pick up just the, you see new Hellboy and the Vampire of Drago. Okay, great. And I pick up Vampire #1. And it's a 6-issue story, and I only need to read these 6 issues, and I totally get it, and it's totally satisfying. But if I'm a Hellboy fan and I read the arc before and the one after, there is ongoing continuity.
Mm-hmm.
There is an overall story going on.
You can't read the last chapter. You can't read Hellboy in Hell, the very end, without reading everything leading up to that point.
But all the other ones before that are somewhat self-contained. Correct. You can jump, as I say, it's #1 through 6. And they did the same thing with BPRD. And I thought that was so genius because, like I say, if you're a brand new reader, you don't know anything about anything, you can pick up this story. It begins, it ends, it's totally satisfying, and off you go. But if you are a fan who's reading the whole thing, then you see where this piece fits in all the other pieces. And again, that's kind of how comics always were. Here's my John Byrne reference, his Fantastic Four books. Each issue was a self-contained issue. But if you were following the run, then you saw how it fit into the overall story. You didn't need to read the whole thing, but if you did, you got the whole story. That's how comics works best.
Daniel, I've never heard that quote from Todd McFarlane before, but that's perfect. He's quoting Todd McFarlane, baseball teams don't need to tell you what season they're in, and you can jump on the bandwagon whenever you like. Comics are the same. That's great.
Yes, I totally agree with that analogy.
It's funny. I love a numbering controversy. Yeah.
I totally agree with that concept.
I haven't heard anything about Mike Mignola. I haven't heard anything about Dark Horse at all. Carlo. So I don't know.
I think Mignola is done.
What?
I'm
Blasphemy.
I'm just gonna say it. I think Mignola is done. I think Scott Alley. What's up, brother? I think Scott Alley turned Mignola off of Dark Horse. I think this is totally. This is beyond speculation. We're getting a new Hellboy book next week, so I'm lying.
Don meets Hellboy. Yeah.
But I don't know that we're going to get new Baltimore. I don't know that we're getting new BPRD. I think Hellboy 1948, whatever was the last one, or 53.
We haven't had
Hellboy 53, I think was. I know there's nothing solicited. And anyway, I don't want to get all into the drama and the controversy. But his editor was a big problem at Dark Horse, and so
for a long time, and everybody knew it,
and everybody knew
guilt
it
by association.
And so it is my inclination that we won't be getting too much.
That's too bad.
But Baltimore was awesome. I'm a huge Mignola fan. I'm a huge Hellboy fan, and he's a big reason I'm a big Dark Horse fan. So I'm hoping that they move on from dark times, like all of us need to move on from dark times here in 2020.
So speaking of moving on, and so we're over time, but I just want real quick announcement. We got the second page of our comic inked by the artist, and it is amazing. And we can't wait for the full thing. And we're going to do our Kickstarter October 1st. So keep an eye out for that. Black Cat Chronicles.
Yep.
Truth is scarier than fiction.
Yep, Black Hat Chronicles coming very, very soon. Like I says, we're going to be launching that Kickstarter.
Relatively.
The Kickstarter will be coming very, very soon.
Kickstarter for it soon.
And you guys will get to see some of the preview pages and get to see a little more about the project.
It's beautiful.
We're very excited about it. Mm-hmm. We're very anxious to get you excited about it. And
we're doing our own comics.
And that's right around the corner, because October is all about black cats.
That's right, and spooky stuff. That's it.
So I guess that about wraps up another exciting episode of Comic Shop Talk Live. I hope you have enjoyed my tangents, and I hope you've enjoyed her awesome reviews of this week's stuff. You can find us here every Saturday at 2 p.m. You tune in Wednesday, you watch the video, you get the newsletter. When the newsletter is live, then you know the website's live. So watch the video to know what's out in the week. Read the newsletter to get the reviews. Then go to black-cat-comics.com. Pick up all your new releases. You read them through the week. You tune in Saturday, 2 o'clock, and we talk all about them. Because this show is for you to talk.
Yes, Daniel, thank you. We will be getting new shirts in as soon as we can. I'll let you know.
Yes. I clearly need one. I'm wearing my Superman shirt when I should be wearing a Black Cat shirt.
We need to order more shirts, yes.
So, like I say, pick up your books on Wednesday. You read them through the week. Tune in on Saturday. We talk about them. And then you tune in Sunday at 2 o'clock for Matchbox versus Hot Wheels. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.